Today is a very special day. It's World SME Day, and I have someone who's very special when it comes to MSME ecosystem in India. I have with us Mr. V Vaidyanathan, MD and CEO of IDFC FIRST Bank. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. I want to understand that why MSME as a category right now, if we consider that as one category, how important it is for a developing economy like India.
I don't need to tell you the importance of MSME, right? Everybody knows it's that much more important. But main thing is employment. Just think about it like that. Currently, Indian enterprises, small enterprises, are employing close to 110 million people. Now, what can be more important as a sector that is providing employment to 110 million people, that too not in the very ultra high skilled jobs like AI, ML, etc. They are or not the IT sector. They are the kind of categories we talked about, kirana shops and all that. So that's a sector that's very, very important. That's why you'll see government, RBI, everybody focusing on the sector to bring it up.
I want to ask you a fundamental question. You know, at least with this government, we have seen a lot of focus on self-reliance, Atmanirbhar Bharat as we call it. There is also, I think, equal stress on entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, a similar vibrancy has been missing when it comes to MSMEs or even smaller enterprises, I would say.
We all know that MSMEs have had it very hard. First of all, their working living conditions itself is difficult. We should start with that.
Yeah.
If you think of an average kirana shop or a shop that is selling potato chips and chocolates and mithai and all that stuff, think of their life. Just picture we interact with them day in and day out.
Right.
Their life is anyway difficult. There's a husband, wife, couples, a mom and pop.
Yeah.
This is the shop. Behind the shop, they are living somewhere, and there's some cat or some dog somewhere sitting somewhere inside, and it's just hard. And in the heat and the grime of the country, especially summers is very hot.
Yeah.
These have to sit and wait all day for a customer to come in.
Correct.
Now, it's just a hard life. If you think in terms of, it's not a kirana shop. Think of somebody who's making, say, jewelry. The poor guys, day in and day out trying to, refine that diamond or whatever, polish the gold. There is, some heat going on there, some electric connection going there, or they're welding something. The heat of that spraying of the of the sparks.
Yeah.
It's just a hard life. So I'd say that the issue sometimes when you think of the MSME. You find that life is really that hard.
Yeah.
Now, to compound that hardness is the availability of finance, because they have borrowed high rate of interest and negotiate and don't have enough negotiating power.
Yeah.
It's just so hard,
Yeah.
So in that context, you should see this role of employment you talked about for the nation and how to improve their lives.
Yeah. So what is your idea? I mean, how it can be improved, or what needs to change? Because I understand government is making a lot of efforts. People like you are investing a lot of time and effort into this. But for that to trickle down to the last man at the bottom of the pyramid.
That, two things here. One is with the economic growth, right? The economic growth. Let's say that our current government's approach towards building India is, let me say, they are building in a serious way. We are building infrastructure, right? We all know that. Now, this budget, Mihir, in this year's budget, India allocated 10 lakh crores.
Yeah.
Never heard of number, by the way, towards capital expenditure.
Correct.
You could have given that 10 lakh crores to people, but they didn't do that. They're building roads, bridges, ports, all that. Now, or bullet train. Let's take bullet train, for example. So when you're laying the tracks and you're putting the bullet train, so some entrepreneur is building that road or building the rail, right? Or building the railway station that is coming next to them. So when you give the money to the road builder or person building the railway station, some contractor is building it. That contractor has employees. That contractor is buying equipment. So when I say this government is doing a lot of things for the entrepreneur, apart from schemes, etc., there will come Mudra scheme, we'll talk about if we have time.
Yeah.
But the financing scheme, it starts with investments, which kind of trickles in the process. And of course, I feel trickling is not enough. That's just my personal view. But a lot of money is coming through that system.
So you think this digitization or the government's focus, or as they call it, the jam trinity, Has that helped MSME sector as well?
Big way. I told you. What is the big issue? Parallel economy. So parallel economy, see, the moment UPI has come, people are getting payment through UPI, not through cash. That is leaving a trail. So that trail you can lend to. So that's a good example. And now, therefore, millions and millions of people who could never get financing can get financing now. So that's one example of how this new technology is changing the system.
Right. Sir, you mentioned word financing. I want to actually focus on that. What has changed?
The new ecosystem like your OCEN and ONDC and the the Aadhaar and the more important credit bureau ecosystem coming about, that has changed a hell of a lot.
Right. I want to actually, since you mentioned OCEN and ONDC, I mean, my personal observation is that while these are terms which are very widely used, not many people, at least the people who are supposed to be beneficiaries or part of that ecosystem, may not necessarily fully know what is it and how it works. What is your take on that?
Okay, let me just explain OCEN, since by the way, it's true, by the way. Many people know the term, but they don't know what it works and how it means. So maybe you're right. OCEN has three components. One is called the loan service provider. Let us say Swiggy every month picks up items from a restaurant.
Correct.
And delivers to customers. And customers are paying and the money goes back to the restaurant. Let's think of the simple equation.
Correct.
Now, Swiggy in this example knows the cash flow of the restaurant, not necessarily available with the bank, not real time, but certainly available to Swiggy. Now, Swiggy in this example becomes a loan service provider. Now, in the next step, think of an account aggregator. Like Swiggy, there may be many more people supplying to the restaurant. So this account aggregator would know Swiggy, Zomato, everybody's information to the restaurant.
Correct.
Account aggregator collects this information with the consent of, say, the restaurant, supplies this to a bank. Now, bank, based on that information, can give online credit to the restaurant of, say, 2 lakhs or 5 lakhs, and can collect transaction money through UPI. Now, think for what I just described to you, had that restaurant applied to the bank directly for a loan, it would follow what I described to you earlier process, application, loan, agreement. So think that this is OCEN, okay?
Right.
Now there's loan service provider, there's an account aggregator I described to you, then there is a loan provider itself. Or we call it loan product provider. Now this whole stack just collapses and brings an instant dispersal to that. Think about OCEN or something like that. It can be a really big deal.
It'll be a game changer.
The game changer. Now, what goes into OCEN? Now, think of, again, in terms of how the stack is built. I told you how the journey would move. Now, what is the underlying stack that can make it happen? Okay. Now, think of the fact that there is a identity layer where the identity of the restaurant is well known. Think of the consent layer that the restaurant is giving a consent to share his information, his or her information with the parties concerned, with the banker. Think of the data layer, so that you know what has happened there.
Correct.
Consent, data. And on top of the data layer, think of the payment layer, where you can actually transact. So OCEN is made of all these 4 layers put together and is built on the same Jan Dhan Trinity and all that stuff, India stack and all that. So it's a powerful thing. Now think of ONDC, I can explain it similarly.
So if you can just elaborate on that, because this is what I want to ask, that, I mean, the way I look at it, every government, successive governments have tried to help and support this particular segment. People like you have tried. Why it didn't happen till now, and now why is the right time?
Okay, it's a good question. I can see, Mihir, you're coming back to the question again and again. What's happened now?
Because I want to understand why it didn't change all this while, and now why will it change?
Maybe let me just say that first 60 or 70 years, intent was there. Intent was there. Everybody said this is an important sector, private sector status was given. Along with intent, now India and the government and the RBI, and let me say even the private sector ecosystem and even the state-owned banks, all of them have put together an ecosystem. So intent coupled with a facilitative environment. Now, I described the facilitative environment earlier. We talked about the fact that there is internet, there is mobile penetration, there is payment systems, this UPI, etc. The credit bureau, the AIML, these are all the ecosystem. So let me say, intent coupled with this ecosystem I talked about, now it is coming alive. Earlier, ecosystem did not exist, intent existed. Today you have intent plus ecosystem, which, mind you, the government has played an active role. Who made OCEN?
Correct.
Someone thought about it. It said God didn't come and make ONDC for you. Someone thought about it.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that is an important part.
Right.
And in addition to that, I do feel that maybe something on the tax and rates, something can be done. I don't know.
What do you have something in mind? What can be done?
Well, it's not a new thing. Frankly, for many years I've been, propagating and trying to put together a concept that the tax for small entrepreneurs need not be the corporate income tax rates. Starting with that,
Right.
because small entrepreneurs, whether private sector companies or public or private limited companies or partnership, they all pay the same tax rate as, let me say, a large corporate like ours. We make thousands of crores of profit if we pay the same tax as them, or any. So my wish really has been that a certain amount of business income created by entrepreneurs be just tax-free, straight tax-free. Suppose you made an income of, say, 1 crore of profit before tax. This is my number. I have not done the maths about how it works out. But we say it's tax-free. And then in a progressive way, so the next 5 crores you pay 5% tax, next 10 crores you pay, say, 15%, and then pay 25%.
Yeah.
The message to millions of young people in the country will be, who are in the 20s and 18, 20, 22-year-old, will be, can I do this? If I start a business, my first 5 crore income will be tax-free. So I want to do it.
Correct.
Right? It works, by the way. I mean, look at Dubai and look at all these countries, Gulf countries. They are saying, income in this country is tax-free. Do Indians rush there to work there?
Absolutely.
There's something about tax-free that gives. And by the way, if you did it there, you are going to create employment. So if supposing your kid were to be 21 or 22 and say, I want to join an organization and employment, that's great. You'll do something for economy. But if your kid said, okay, I'm going to create an enterprise because it's tax-free, and they hire 3-4 people, I'd say this is also very important.
Yeah, it is in fact critical. I mean,
Critical.
where we are
So
right
just
now.
imagine if 1 million of them come up and 1 million into 5 jobs and 5 million jobs get created, and I don't know.
A very large and critical part of it, like you said, that there has to be a different tax structure. Even on the financing side, maybe we need to look at some innovation instead of applying the traditional method when we lend to MSMEs and very small businesses.
100%. I frankly, of course, I told you lots of things have changed, and agreements have become electronic, and collections have become electronic, etc. I described them to you. But still, a lot more to be done. So I think we need to do a lot more. I'm honestly not satisfied with what we have done as an institution. We've not done enough, I would say, and we need to do better.
There is, so much talk about cash flow lending. Now, I mean, obviously, somewhere it appears that it can be a breakthrough if implemented correctly or followed correctly. But can you just explain it for our viewers? What is cash flow lending and how is it different than, let's say, the traditional lending mechanism?
You're right. Let me just say it's the biggest breakthrough that has happened in a long time. For a long time that even you'd imagine, how do you take a loan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you will give some collateral.
You'll give some collateral, or what will you say? You'll say, give me your income tax return.
Correct.
First question from banker, give me your tax return, give me a P&L statement.
Correct.
Now, tax return is not the same thing as cash flow.
Cash flow.
Now, in the cash flow lending, what we do is that we imagine you go to an entrepreneur and say, give me a bank statement.
Yeah.
And you see in the bank statement that money is lying in the bank
For how
on the
many days?
1st to the 10th of the month. you always have 1 lakh rupees, supposing you saw it. Now, the money is there, you can see it. Like there are sales happening, receipts happening, and you can see money in the bank. So you take those entries, you average it, you total it, you find the median, and you find between first to the seventh how much money is lying there. Suppose you find 1 lakh is there. Now you know if customers keeping 1 lakh, you mean they can honor 50,000 as EMI. It's obvious. Absolutely. Money is there. Now you know 50,000 can be the EMI. You know tenor is 3 years. That's what the customer wants. So, and you know interest rate is supposing it's 13-14% or 15%. So you reverse calculate that combination, and then you know you arrive at a particular loan amount. So this is cash flow lending. So it's extremely safe. We have been doing practicing cash flow lending now for close to 12, 13 years, and hardly any default. It doesn't matter whether the customer is giving you physical security, take my plant and machinery, take my printing press as security. What are you going to do with the printing press?
Actually.
What are you going to do with it? Are you going to sell the printing press? It's secured. But are you going to trust the printing press, which is as a physical collateral? Are you going to trust the cash in the bank? So that's cash flow lending. It's very powerful.
Right. So essentially you are saying that we need to change the way we look at the concept of security when it comes to lending to this category.
No.
Or maybe redefine
security, of course, is its own merit. If somebody is giving you a plant and machinery, a printing press or whatever, it's security. But the real security is cash.
Correct.
What can be better security than cash? Now, every month on the due date, you're picking that money from the bank. Think of it like escrow of cash.
Correct.
So we have practiced. So now that I explained to you in graphic detail what cash flow lending is, now you can understand why cash flow lending always beats any other form of security any day in performance of credit.
Right. Now that you sort of explain, it's quite interesting as a concept. My assumption is we should be able to, or I'm sure you would be, lending much more easily even to the smallest, let's say, kirana shop or somebody who wants to start a small restaurant somewhere.
That's precisely the point. Yeah. That's precisely the point, because you can lend much more easily. That is the reason. Sometimes people are always surprised. They say, they ask us this question all the time. Right? Even when we meet investor conferences or quarterly con call results, people say that, listen, you're financing small entrepreneurs. You know, the default will be more. You go and give to large corporates. Large corporate only, they don't take, they're all many good corporates and we respect them, but many of them turn out to be the fellows who fly over to some other country also with the money.
Yeah.
Right? And who will I trust? Will I trust somebody with 200, 500 crores of my money with the risk that, oh my God, I have to, hold my breath every day for them to pay me back? Yeah. Or should I lend to these people on the basis of cash flow?
Yeah.
Which is better? This customer is, any day a better customer.
Yeah.
And we have evidence that cash and lend to that cash. Yeah. And of course, they're creating employment and all that stuff.
And they are God-fearing to some extent. So,
being God-fearing, or let me say respectful of human spirit, or being respectful of contracts, being respectful of the bureau. Small entrepreneurs bother about bureau, remember, because
correct,
they know that if they default, it directly sticks to the name.
Correct.
So these people are, let me say, respectful of, they're more honest also. So I feel they are better credit.
That's very encouraging. Now, what is your advice for I would say this category of entrepreneurs?
So it is tough, but let me say it's not going to be possible for them to go and set up a, let me say, a website and bots and AI and ML. They can't do all that stuff. They don't have the resources for that. But what they should all do is to actually subscribe to SaaS platforms. Okay. That is why software as a solution is coming about. So you can build resources for all these things, but for each part of the stack, there's some SaaS company providing the solutions.
Correct.
So if you're in a shop, you subscribe to that stack, and you're up with an app next morning because someone built it. You're only putting a branding on it.
It's World MSME Day. Are you going to? Are you looking at launching some new initiative?
We have launched one very unique product. I think you might have seen it in the newspapers. We found that in the current account business, customers get 0%.
Correct.
It's the way it is. It's been there like for 75 years. So we have introduced a really special product whereby we tell the small entrepreneur MSME, we put the category of MSME. It's a special offer for MSMEs only. In MSME, we are saying your MSME open current account with the bank. Up to 2 lakhs, we'll keep in current account. But supposing you have 20 lakhs, 18 lakhs will make an FD out of it.
Automatically.
Automatically, you don't have to call. It will happen automatically. You can sleep in peace. Now, that 18 lakhs will start earning you 7.25% rate of interest because we'll convert it over 1 year FD.
Oh.
So on 2 lakhs, you get 0. On 18 lakhs, you'll get 7.25. Now, supposing you issue a check for, say, 1 lakh rupees, we will pay the check out of your current account. We won't touch the FD.
So that reserved amount of 2 lakh will be used?
Will be used.
Yeah, okay.
Even if you cut out a check of 2 lakh rupees, we'll pay out from the current account. We'll not touch the FD. We'll not say you have to keep minimum current account of so much. It's not there. Take out a full money of current account, no problem. It's very special.
I think not only for small businesses, even for any enterprise, a scheme like this, is this restricted to MSMEs only? Or?
It's currently for MSME. So, but let me just finish on this because it's a World MSME Days. So I'm very happy to announce this also. So now suppose the entrepreneur wrote a check of say 3 lakh rupees to some supplier. Now we'll first pay off the 2 lakh rupee from the current account and 1 lakh FD will break. Only 1 lakh, which means that 17 lakh will stay FD.
Oh, okay. So the entire amount doesn't get broken. This thing. Oh.
Best part is that this FD that will break will have no premature penalty. So you'll get the full rate as applicable for that tenor. If the tenor is paying you 4, you'll get 4.
Yeah.
So the entrepreneur is getting like FD rates, not like, is getting FD rates on bulk of the cash.
Right.
So this is a very powerful product. I think we're the first bank to introduce it. I'm very, very proud. So
I think it will revolutionize the way people look at their
you just watch, after 3, 4, 5 years, every bank will offer this.
I'm sure.
I don't know, years or months, I don't know whatever will happen. But at least we'll be proud we brought this to the country.
But it's a huge disruption in terms of, I mean, how does the maths work for you in this case?
No, I never use the word disruption and all that. I never think like that. But I do think of what have we brought for the customer, right? So in this case, we believe the MSME will say, man, fine. Somebody finally bought a product where I'm not earning 0% current account. And also give me full liquidity of my full money.
Yeah.
And giving me FD rates on bulk of it. So we're happy about that. Then no fees. By the way, the first bank, we took out all fees. Cash deposit fees at branch. You're an MSME. You come and deposit cash in a branch. You know, there are always fees.
Yeah.
Cash deposit, 0 fees. Very common service. Huh? Cash withdrawal, 0 fees. Then ATM cash withdrawal, 0 fees. IMPS, 0 fees. NEFT, 0 fees.
Wow.
RTGS, 0 fees. Okay? Debit card, 0. And it's a long stack of 50 services. Free.
Wow. So what is your advice to, it's World MSME Day and there are so many upcoming entrepreneurs who must be watching this show right now. What is your advice for them?
So, I'd say watch the winds of change. You heard that song of Scorpion?
Yeah.
I follow the Moscow down to Gorky Park, listening to the winds of change. So the winds of change is like serious winds of change. It's not like, don't take it as a flowery figure of speech or something. It's a real thing with the digitization, OCEN, ONDC, bureaus, UPI, payment system. All that is a very big change coming. If you're like generative AI, so if these are big things that will affect your life, so please stay cutting edge.
Absolutely. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. And I hope many more upcoming budding entrepreneurs will get inspired by this conversation and by your story. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.